Hello, welcome to the final bonus edition of our yarn advent calendar. So I do have one mini skein left. Maybe we'll give you a little suspense. Before I open this and show you the final skein, I will show you what my blanket currently looks like. It is kind of squared off at this point. Well, it's rectangled off at this point. So here it is. Some of these squares were in existence before I did the yarn calendar. And all total, it's about 4 feet across and about, maybe 18 inches deep at this point. So I've got a long ways to go yet, but that's where I'm at this point with the blanket. Now on to the last skein that is in here. And here it is. And it is some beautiful fall colors. There we go. It's a little more orangey than when it shows up because oranges don't show up well in lighting. Here's the other side. And this is a little bit smaller skein. Most of the skeins that I get from Paula are about 30 yards each. And this one, she's actually put a little tag on which says 12 to 24 yards. So I'll just get one square out of this one. The other ones I've gotten 2 squares out of. So with that, I am going to include, some of you have asked how to make the mitered square blanket, also known as the Cozy Memories blanket. You could go on Ravelry and get free patterns for this. There's numerous ones of them out there. The one that I'm using, I looked at some of the patterns, but I actually based the size of my square on how many I could get out of one of the balls of yarn. So mine take roughly around 15 yards for each square. And mine is based on a 35 stitch square. So I'm going to put up the tutorial. There are 3 parts. And just to kind of recap, I'll put the tutorials up and then we'll do a little recap for the final part. We're going to be talking about the mitered square blankets. There are many of them that are out there. I'm just going to do a tutorial for the one that I make. I don't use anyone's particular pattern. This is just the one that I've been doing. And it is started from this edge. And this center decrease here, this is where it ends. This is created by doing a double decrease. This is what creates the miter. So it is 17 stitches plus 1 stitch for the bottom where the corner begins and another 17 stitches across. So let me show you how to start the first square. You're going to cast on 35 stitches, which I've already done, and then you're going to knit across the first 16 stitches. I've done 15 stitches so far. So I'm going to knit 16th stitch. This is where my double decrease will be. So you slip 1 stitch, slip 2 stitches, knit the 3rd, and then the 2 stitches you slipped over, you are just going to pass those over that stitch. This creates a double decrease. And then you will just knit to the end of the row, which should be another 16 stitches. Once you've knitted across on the right side, you're going to turn your work and you're going to begin on the wrong side. You're going to knit all the way across the 16 stitches again until you come to the center stitch. And you can see where it's starting to form a small V right here. This is the beginning of the corner. This stitch, which is your double decrease stitch, you will purl. and then you will knit the remaining 16 stitches all the way across. We have now completed our first square. This will be the bottom left corner of your blanket. This is your cast on edge here. This is your widest point, and then as you knit it and it became narrower here with the decreases, this is your narrowest point. You always will be adding on your squares on this side. And how you do that is you're going to have your cast on edge in the bottom corner of your blanket. You're going to use this right side, and you're going to have the right side facing you. So this is the side that has the defined decreased stitches. You'll take your new yarn that you're going to add on, and you're going to pick up 17 stitches across here, with the 18th stitch being right in the corner. And the way you do this is you use a crochet hook. You're going to insert it in the corner, right like that, and then you will use your new yarn, which I've tied a little loop in, just a slip knot, and you are going to pull it, going through the right side, you're going to pull it up from the wrong side, and you're going to slip it on to your knitting needle. So there's stitch 1. You want to make sure this stays snug, not tight, but snug. So there is stitch number 1, and you're just going to evenly space 17 stitches. You're going to go down through the front. This is the right side of your work, and you're going to pick up the next thread, bring it up, and slip it under your needles. There's 2. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on until we get down to our 17th stitch. Alright, we now have 17 stitches going across. We're going to put the 18th stitch directly into the corner. So we're going to add it in right here. There's 18, and then I'm going to cast on 17 more stitches to get our total of 35. And I'm just going to go up through this corner stitch and just do a regular basic cast on. One. Okay, I've cast on my additional 17 stitches here, so that all total, all the way across, I have my 35, the same as I did when I began my cast on for this square here. So I'm now going to do the same process that I did with this first square. I'm going to knit 16 stitches and then do the double decrease. Here I am at my 16th stitch. I'm going to slip the 17th stitch, slip the 18th stitch, knit the 19th stitch, pass the 16th or the 17th and 18th stitch over the top. That's my double decrease, and knit the next 16 stitches. And I have just started to form this cast on stitch here is now the same thing over here. This is where my point will form, the same as this point here. This will become a point here. So on the wrong side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be knitting from here on out, same as I did this initial block. You'll turn it over and knit on the wrong side 16 stitches until you get to this middle decrease stitch. You'll purl that and then knit 16 more, and then the next row you'll do 15, the next row 14, the same as you did for this square here. And when you finish, you will have 2 squares joined, and you will continue this process of adding. When you finish this square, you will add on the next square in the same manner that you've done this until you reach the desired width of your blanket. To recap just a little, your very first square of your blanket, like right here, you are going to cast on 35 stitches. 17, this is your 18th stitch, and 17 here, and then follow the double decrease instructions. After that, all of the squares that will be going to the right of that will get 17 stitches picked up on one side, and then you cast on, or you pick up the 18th stitch right at the corner, and then you cast on 17 additional stitches and then knit your square. And you do that all the way across. You can see I've got one here I'm actually working on. This is one of the leftover square. Actually, it's this square that's leftover yarn. When you start your second row, you cast on, just like I said in the tutorial, you're going to cast on 17, get your 18th stitch right here in the corner, and then pick up the 17 stitches. So that's what you would do for your first square of the beginning of each row. The squares after that will fall in this kind of L-shaped area right here and here, you're going to pick up 17 stitches, pick up your 18th stitch directly in this corner of the 3 squares, and then pick up the other 17 stitches here, and then you'll knit the square just the same as you have before. And likewise, when you get to the next square, it's going to be just like this, and you're going to do the same thing. So by doing this, you actually are sewing your sweater, or sewing your blanket together at the same time that you're knitting it. So now the only problem I've got, look at all the ends I've got to weave in. Lots of ends. I'm going to have to put a long movie in to do that. So anyway, that is the end of our yarn advent calendar. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you guys end up knitting some, send me a picture. I'd love to see what they look like. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.